My name is Lance Gartner. I ranch south of Glen Ullin, about 6 miles, Glen Ullin, North Dakota. I ranch with my family, my wife and children who are at home with us yet. There's still 4 children at home with us on the ranch. We've pretty much switched over to ranching about 8 years ago now. In 2014 was the last cash crop we had. We just really enjoy the cattle, really enjoy the working with the grass and the cattle and improving nature and improving the soil with that. If we go all the way back into the 90s, I was on the Soil Conservation Board, and I learned there about managed grazing and stuff like that, and it's like, okay, this is something we need to do. At that time, we had 40 head herds on 400 acre pastures, and really, we tried it and it failed. We actually had someone come to our ranch and say, you guys are doing it all wrong, you might as well quit. So I did. I got mad and I quit for a couple of years. And then the stubbornness got a hold of me again, and we said, we got to make this work. So then in the early 2000s, we did our first holistic management course. And that's what opened our eyes to combining herds, smaller paddocks and stuff like that. So in 2006 is when we built our first cross fence. We went with a pie shape, and it worked great. So we thought. As time progressed, we moved into lanes and now even back grazing. We used a dam in the center of the pasture as the water point. If I had to do it all over again, I would put pipelines in there and just more watering points. It becomes obvious. Learning to pay attention to detail is one of the keys, and that's one of the most fascinating things about it, is once you learn to pay attention to details, the stuff you see and notice is unbelievable, and it just makes it all the more rewarding. That's one of the biggest things we've noticed, is that when you let a cow be a cow, no matter what kind of management you throw at them, they will adjust. If we graze something in April, May, we will probably come back again and hit it late fall or winter. But typically in a season, once over is what works well for our operation. Again, every operation is different. You have to find what works for you. One of the things that we struggle with terribly on this operation is the fact that we have a lot of introduced grasses, a lot of cool season grasses. And so we're struggling to get through them, because if you don't get through them by mid-July, early August at the absolute latest, you're not going to get to use them that year. So typically our natives get hit very late in the season, but every once in a while we'll try to slip a couple of natives in early June just to utilize that grass in a different season. We've tried everything. We've had our successes and we've had our things that we learned. It's not a true failure, because if you learn something from it, it's not a failure, but we have had our opportunities to learn, and those are great, valuable lessons. When we first started our grazing systems, we would devise our plan at the beginning of the year, and we'd try to follow it as best we could, but yet that plan never seemed to vary a whole lot from year to year. And then when we got to introduce the holistic management into the planning, with the season of use, the monitoring, you plan, you implement, you monitor, and you re-plan. So if someone is not into a grazing system now and they really want to get started, maybe their operation isn't big enough and they need to expand. You look at land value prices, you can't afford to just go out and buy more land. You need to seriously look at a grazing management system, because the infrastructure is minimal compared to cross fencing and well water systems. That's all minimum compared to the price of new land, and you can easily double the production of your land. For someone new looking into it, it can be very overwhelming. It was for us. We had to go and look at someone else's electric fences, one-wire electric fences, just to see how they do it, so I know the end product, what it looks like, so that it wasn't so overwhelming for me. I understand that it can be daunting at times, but that's where the Grazing Lands Coalition has mentors. There's people have done this before, that you don't need to reinvent the wheel, and that's the valuable part about it. Utilize the people who are already doing it, because I can guarantee somebody within a 100-mile radius of you is already doing it. When you start a grazing system and we put in this infrastructure, the pipelines and the tanks and the cross fences, all that, you will start to see benefits in the short term. There's cost share programs out there to help with this infrastructure, so you're not putting a burden on your finances up front. But even with that, what you do invest in it with finances, you spread that over a 20-year term, and it's minuscule per year, and you're going to increase so much production. So you're noticing all this with the ranch, But one thing that's more valuable yet, and that is time with family. Time away from the ranch, to be able to get away and just refocus and be able to do something else that you really wanted to do, or go somewhere with the family. I've grown to have a love for cows, have a love for grass, to go out and put up a poly wire for a couple hours each day for all the herds, or every other day, or whatever it might be, once a week. It's enjoyable. You're walking on the land, you're in creation, you're monitoring the grass as you're walking, you're monitoring the cows. You see the cows more often, you have less chance of an outbreak of anything, any kind of a sickness, and you're going to notice it right away. And the best part about it is you're doing it with family. You're not sitting in a tractor by yourself. You have family helping you with everything. The days don't need to be as long. It's just a more enjoyable, in the holistic management field, one decision affects the whole ranch. And so if you have to go out and buy another section of land, now you have that much more to manage, and that's going to take away from all these other areas of the ranch and your family time. Don't reinvent the wheel. That's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. Don't cause yourself any more stress than what you need. You want to relieve stress in your life, not gain more of it. As they always say, deadlines are a great thing. If it wasn't for deadlines, we get nothing accomplished. And there's some truth to that. But yet, you don't have to have the anxiety of going through the process to get to that deadline. Tap into the people who, whether they're 10 miles away or 100 miles away or 5 states away. Tap into them. People in this field love to share what they do and help others out, and that's what we're here for.